Huawei's been growing at a rapid pace and have been gaining market share in almost every market that they are present in. Now, while a fair share of that coverage can be attributed to the Honor sub-brand and its stellar low and mid-range phones, and to a lower extent even the Nexus 6P that they worked with Google on, they do keep coming up with some stellar flagships. The big screen Mate series hasn't been seen here in India for a long time, but we still managed to get our hands on one, and after spending a good week or so with it, here's our take on the Huawei Mate 9. But before we get to it, if this is your first time here, or in case you just can't remember, since we don't get TV ads and all that, my name's Ash, you're watching C4E Tech, and this here is a full review of the Huawei Mate 9. Let's get started. As always, let's start with the built-in design. To the front, on top, we've got the earpiece, sensors, an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, and a notification LED. That's followed by a 5.9-inch IPS LCD display with a Full HD resolution, and since the Mate 9 opts for on-screen keys, we've got just the Huawei branding at the bottom. To the back, there's a secondary noise-cancelling microphone followed by a dual-tone dual LED flash, the dual camera setup, a laser assist for autofocus, the fingerprint scanner, and Huawei branding again at the bottom. The power button and the volume rockers are found to the right, an IR blaster and a 3.5mm headphone jack can be found up top, there's a tray to the left, and here's where you can add either two SIMs or a SIM and a microSD card. And at the bottom, we've got two microphones, a speaker, and a Type-C port. At first glance, this might look very mundane, but look closer. The sides have a brushed metal finish, the sandblasted back has a glossy sheen to it, the front has fingerprint-esque markings underneath the glass, there's even another mic hidden beneath the earpiece, totaling 4 mics here. And that earpiece itself, it doubles as a speaker when in landscape mode. Add to it the chamfering, there's a ton of work that's gone into the Mate 9, and I appreciate it. Despite a 5.9-inch display and a 4000 mAh battery, Huawei's managed to keep the Mate 9 at around 190 grams and just 7.9mm thick, and that's at its thickest point of this curved back. And while the curved back helps with ergonomics, this is still a large phone, one you'd probably have to use two-handed more often than not. The display, that's covered by 2.5D glass, but Huawei is not mentioning what brand they're using for protection. This display itself is quite nice, gets very bright, and doesn't pose issues outdoors. That's especially important given the cameras here. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The display has a Full HD resolution, meaning a pixel density of about 375 pixels per inch. That's not optimal for VR, but for day-to-day usage, it's great, especially given that the color accuracy and the contrast is quite good. Now, the Mate 9 is not just about the looks. Underneath the hood, this phone is powered by one of the fastest chips in the market today, Huawei's own Kirin 960. This contains two sets of quad cores, first 4 powerful A73 cores clocked at up to 2.4 GHz each, and then 4 power-efficient Cortex A53 cores clocked at up to 1.8 GHz each. The 960 uses the latest top-of-the-line Mali G71 GPU. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because it's the same GPU that Samsung's using on the Exynos 8895 rumored to be found on the Galaxy S8. Of course, Samsung's using a 20-core configuration while Huawei is using a octa-core configuration here. It's not gonna be quite as powerful as the GPU on the Exynos, but it's still quite good. No matter what game we threw at the Mate 9, it managed to run it quite easily. Also remember, it's just pushing a Full HD display. Then there's 4GB of RAM, 64GB of onboard storage. Huawei's also thrown in an i6 core processor. The audio via the speaker is great, surprisingly loud and clear. Audio via the 3.5mm headphone jack's quite good too. Cellular reception and call quality were both top notch, but I did face issues with GeoSIM cards here in India. It shows up but doesn't really work, not even just for data. As far as battery life goes, the Mate 9 still delivers. The Kirin 960 is built on the 16nm manufacturing process, so it's quite power efficient. On each of my 7 days with the Mate 9, I was able to get through my entire day on a single charge with ease. Additionally, Huawei does provide its own supercharger with the Mate 9 to help top up that battery real quick. Now I just wanted to get through all that as fast as I can so that we can focus on the camera. Huawei's thrown everything into the camera here. You know how some brands go for different dual camera setups to get either monochrome or lossless zoom or fancy depth of field effects? You can do all that here. Monochrome? Check. Depth of field? Check. Lossless hybrid zoom? Check. And of course, the fact that this is co-engineered with Leica does help. The monochrome sensor is now 20 megapixels, and given that the RGB sensor just adds color information, you can still shoot 20 megapixel still images with full color. And the quality is extremely good. There's an amazing level of detail in these shots, the color reproduction's good, and when you switch to the 12 megapixel mode, you get to use the extra resolution of the monochrome sensor for a hybrid lossless zoom. As good as these images are, this camera comes into its own under low light. Yes, both the sensors have just f2.2 lenses, but the images are being shot with both cameras simultaneously, so totally there is a lot more light being let in. The Pro mode is also very comprehensive and you actually get a 30-second slow shutter option. That's just excellent. The slow shutter means when coupled with a cheap Gorilla Pod, we were able to get shots like this. Now both cameras have an optically stabilized lens, and that meant even handheld, we could still get some excellent shots. And optical image stabilization also makes for stable video, even at 4K where the electronic image stabilization gets deactivated. Additionally, Huawei is using H.265 here, meaning the final video sizes are much smaller. Given the support for face detection, contrast, depth and laser autofocus, the Mate 9 is very accurate and quick to find focus. The 8 megapixel front camera has an f1.9 aperture and has support for autofocus too. This camera is also stellar and makes for some great selfies. As far as the software goes, the Mate 9 runs on Android 7 Nougat with Huawei's own Emotion UI or MUI 5.0 on top. A little correction from my unboxing, you can turn the app drawer on for the home screen from settings. Emotion UI is very customizable. Right from the fancy transition options for the regular home screen to its theming capabilities, it's all present and accounted for. And of course, since this is Nougat, you get the quick switch and split screen options to improve multitasking. Huawei also has more of their own tricks like the mini screen option and hands-free voice controls with the screen off.
Okay, Amy. Where are you?
I'm here. I'm here.
The fingerprint scanner to the back is super accurate and quick. I had no issues with it in my week with the Mate 9. So overall, the user experience on the Mate 9 is excellent. Whether it's opening apps, running games or shooting images, it's all a pleasure. That is, if you're someone with a fondness for phones with large displays. The RAM management is top notch too. So overall, Huawei's put together a stellar offering. I absolutely adored my time with the Mate 9 despite being someone who doesn't really like crazy huge displays. The Mate 9 is priced at $600, that's about 40,000 Indian rupees, and as of now it's even available via Amazon.com with global options, so you can get it for about 46,000 rupees in India including shipping and customs. If you do want to pick one up, I'll have links in the description below. Use that, helps the channel out. Anyway, if Huawei were to sell the Mate 9 in India for about 40,000 rupees, I feel it could even disrupt the OnePlus 3T given it packs a very powerful chip, has much better optics, rivaled only by the iPhone 7 and probably the S7, better sound output, battery life and support for microSD. But sadly though, odds of Huawei bringing it to India seem slim. Anyway, that's it for my 2 cents on the Mate 9, an excellent phone that I would recommend if you're looking for one in this price segment. So what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I've had to say in this video? Let me know in the comments below. If you did like this video, please let me know by hitting the thumbs up button down below. If you hated it, go ahead, vote it down and subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. If you are already subscribed, do this to make sure you get notified every time a new video goes live on C4eTech. And now that we're done, you can click this video, which if YouTube's algorithms are to be trusted, is something relevant for you. Hope you found it interesting. So thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4eTech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye bye now.